The earliest creatures we're going to look at are over 300 million years old. This is an extinct order called the Myasora. It was a huge order with hundreds of different kinds of animal. They were also extremely successful, existing for over 100 million years. But their reign came to an end during the Permian mass extinction. Today we'll be looking at one of their last surviving members, Edaphosaurus. Edaphosaurus means flat lizard. And like all Myosaurus, it had a large sail on its back. This sail wasn't used for swimming, despite them being called sailbacks, but instead for thermoregulation. It's much like a lizard today basking on a rock. This animal is often referred to as the walking air conditioner. The animal could raise its body temperature by raising its sail, which would allow it to become more active. Or it could lower its temperature by lowering its sail and minimizing sun exposure. They lived in what is now North America, and it was here that the last of the Myasauras went extinct 252 million years ago. Moving forward a few million years, we come to the Triassic period. This time period saw the rise of the first dinosaurs. One of the most famous Triassic dinosaurs is Coelophysis. Coelophysis was one of the first meat-eaters, but it was very small, reaching a maximum size of just over 6 meters in length. This meant that it was probably hunted by much larger meat-eating reptiles like the phytosaurs. As I've covered in previous videos, phytosaurs were the apex predators of the Triassic until the dinosaurs took over. This particular species is called the ghost of the Red Desert, because it was found in Ghost Ranch, New Mexico. Its fossil was so complete that paleontologists were even able to tell its skin was gray with orange stripes down its back. It's moving into the Jurassic period. We have Diplodocus. Now, this is a sauropod, one of the largest groups of dinosaurs. It's unlike the previous two dinosaurs we've looked at. This one was a herbivore. Its name translates to double bean, referring to the 2 rows of teeth in its mouth. It also had a very long neck, although not quite as long as other sauropods, like Argentinosaurus. Sauropods were only found in the supercontinent of Pangaea, and would later split up once the continents did. Diplodocus was one of the last sauropods to live as it died out, along with the rest of the dinosaurs in the Cretaceous period. Finally, moving into the Cenozoic era, we have Smilodon. Smilodon was a saber-toothed cat, one of many different species of saber-toothed cats throughout history. It lived during the Pleistocene epoch, until finally going extinct around 11,000 years ago. One of the reasons it went extinct was the changing climate. There were fewer large mammals around, meaning less food for the saber-toothed cat. It was also hunted by humans, who likely killed it for its fur and for defense against it. Although saber-toothed cats have been mostly portrayed as ferocious hunters, they were actually quite graceful. They used their saber-like teeth to slash and disembowel their prey rather than crushing them. With a bite force of 300 pounds per square inch, it couldn't crush bones like a hyena or a modern lion can. Now let's take a look at some more prehistoric wildlife. But for this next creature, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Meganeuston is an extinct genus of arthropod. We don't know exactly what group it belongs to, but it may have been a type of millipede or sea scorpion. Either way, this animal was an apex predator. It lived in what is now Europe and reached lengths of over 4 meters. It also had 11 pairs of legs, each leg ending in a claw. This would make it incredibly difficult to get rid of these things, even if you were a dinosaur. One day you might be resting comfortably in your Cretaceous forest, enjoying the Jurassic sunshine when suddenly a massive millipede lunges out of the bushes and swipes at you with its claws. Things could definitely get scary in the Jurassic period, but thankfully it never did, because the Ankylosaurus didn't live at the same time as the dinosaurs. It lived millions of years earlier during the Silurian period, but that doesn't mean it wasn't scary. This next creature also gave dinosaurs a run for their money. This is a relative of the horseshoe crab called a Chasmotaspes. Chasmotaspes means a gaping mouth. Not like the name suggests, it had a large mouth full of teeth that could easily tear apart its prey. Horseshoe crabs still exist today, but this species went extinct during the Devonian period, 359 million years ago. Another creature that lived during the Devonian period was Hynerpeton. This is one of the earliest known tetrapods, meaning it was one of the first 4-legged vertebrates. Most tetrapods are amphibians today, but Hynerpeton was more closely related to a fish. It had gills instead of lungs and was only capable of breathing underwater. However, it also had 4 limbs, which suggests that it spent some time on land. It likely wriggled itself across the land like a fish out of water. Eventually, its descendants would develop the ability to breathe air and would eventually evolve into some of the largest animals ever to live, including alligators and whales. Next, we have a true master of the skies, pterodactyl. This flying reptile was one of the most famous creatures of the late Jurassic period, perhaps second only to the Stegosaurus. Despite their iconic status, very few of their fossils have actually been found. In fact, most of what we know comes from a single individual found in 1922. This animal was a type of pterosaur, and the literal translation of its name is terrible wing. But don't let that fool you. These guys were masters of the skies, soaring effortlessly overhead. The reason why they have such a fearsome name is because they had a large toothless beak, somewhat similar to that of a vulture. They used this beak to tear apart their prey before swooping back down to earth and snatching it away. Let's look at one of the most impressive creatures ever to swim in the oceans, Basilosaurus. This 15-meter monster was an absolute unit. It was also one of the first whales, so it had a whale-like tail and was fully adapted for life in the ocean. However, it also had tiny little legs, one of the last remnants of its terrestrial ancestry. It used these legs to drag itself onto land where it could give birth to its young. Towards the end of its life, the Basilosaurus became a popular target for whalers. Their massive jaws made them easy to hook onto, and they put up a good fight too. They were killed off by the end of the Eocene epoch, 34 million years ago. Now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which of these prehistoric creatures was the most impressive. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the references in the description. As always, thank you for watching.